This is the first episode of Echoes and Noise, the story of Blue Foundation. My name is Tobias Wilner. This is an inside look into the making of Eyes on Fire and the early days of Blue Foundation, based on my notes. Enjoy.
What you just heard was the first piece of music that became Eyes on Fire. You can hear the melody in the cello. But let me take you back to the beginning. I was in a dreampop project called Polytone with my brother Anders and our friend Kirstine. I wanted to experiment more with sounds and samples, so I created Blue Foundation around 1999. In the beginning, I was just playing around with samples and noise. Soon I asked Anders and Kirstine to join me, and a little later, Bo Randa came on board. We made 3 albums together. The lineup kept changing. In 2010, Kirstine left the band to work on her Danish solo project. I remember when she left Blue Foundation, it felt a bit like a quiet echo fading into the distance. A beautiful chapter closing, but not the end of the story. Change has always been an undercurrent in our music, and this was no different. It was raw. It was real. We needed it. At first, there was uncertainty, but the band was never just about one person. Instead of trying to fill the void, we decided to sit with it, to let the absence become part of the music. Silence, after all, is as powerful as sound. We found freedom. We collaborated with new voices, not to replace, but to create something different. Each collaboration was like a deep conversation, adding layers to the narrative we were building. We stopped chasing what we thought Blue Foundation should be and started asking, what does this moment sound like? There were times we felt disconnected, wondering if fans would drift away with the changing vocals, but that fear also fueled us. It made us dig deeper, crafting music that was unapologetically authentic. Our songs became letters to the unknown, fragments of memories, dreams, and emotions we couldn't always name. That's the vulnerability we leaned into, not just in the lyrics, but in the very DNA of the sound. Today, Blue Foundation isn't defined by a lineup. It's a living, breathing project, a collective of sounds, stories, and collaborations. The spirit of our early days is still there, but it has evolved. We're not trying to recreate the past. We're documenting the present. If you've been with us since the beginning, thank you for growing with us. If you've just discovered our music, welcome to the noise, the silence, and everything in between. Blue Foundation isn't just a band. It's a process, a feeling, a journey that's still unfolding. Have to go back to 2006. The Copenhagen scene was a challenging landscape. The city was gray, cold, and quiet, with a stillness that settled in your bones. It wasn't the trendy city it is now. The music scene, there wasn't much to speak of. I felt like I had nothing in common with most artists around me, except for a few. I had friends in bands like Mew, Sarah Savory with her project People Press Play, and a few others. We were all trying to carve out our own sound, chasing something that felt true. Mew was already doing it. Sarah Savory was searching, releasing music on more music. This was before she joined Blue Foundation for a few records. Some of our best, in my opinion. We were all on our own separate missions. There was no scene for us, no shared voice. We had to create our own. The rest of the musical landscape felt off, like a room full of mirrors with no reflection. A few unique voices, sure, but most of it was dull, uninspired, just spinning its wheels. It's still like that, though a little better now. Seeking inspiration beyond the local scene, I turned to experimental sounds from artists like Kirstine Nicolai, also known as Alva Noto, Numb from Japan, and Ingram Marshall. I also delved into bands like Tennis Coats, Can, The Fall, Swirlies, and Broadcast. Music that felt alive and unpredictable, like a storm you couldn't see coming. I wanted that feeling. I wanted to write songs, not just make noise or chase the purely experimental stuff, but songs that carried something real, something you could hold on to in the chaos. After our second album, we had a little buzz, but I was already looking ahead. With Life of a Ghost, the time had come to find my voice again, to let the words flow. I was wading through personal storms, heartaches, self-sabotage, shadows creeping in. The pain was real. For a few years before that, I had stepped back from the front. Didn't care much for the attention that came with it. It felt phony and narcissistic. It made me feel smug. But with this album, I found a balance. A place where the music could breathe, and so could I. It wasn't just about being the voice or the face. It was about saying something that mattered. Something that could stand out in all that gray. In 2006, the melody for Eyes on Fire came to life. It started as a little tune for strings, meant for my brother Boris Bertram's film. But, like so many things, it didn't quite find its way into the story. My old friend Matthias was in Copenhagen, trying to get his life back together after spending years on the streets in Spain. He brought his violin with him. That was all he had. I made room for him in my studio. He had nothing. No clothes, no cash, just a wild beard, ragged clothes, and his violin. But there was something about the way he played. He had this tone like the strings were singing his story. I remember one night, we were recording. I had this idea of violins laying down a bed of suspense under the melody that would become Eyes on Fire. I grabbed an old Fender Jaguar from the 60s, plugged it into a beat-up Vox AC30, and used an alternative tuning I'd been messing around with, D minor, capo on the B-flat string. I was deep into Sonic Youth at the time, all that alternative tuning business. I laid it down as an instrumental demo in a cold, drafty loft in Copenhagen, a place that still haunts me in my sleep. The place was colder than a tomb, falling apart at the seams, no insulation to speak of. The power would flicker and die, leaving me alone with the silence for hours, trying to make sense of it all. Those violins and guitars you hear in the final master, those are the ones I recorded that night. was where I pieced together the life of a Ghost album, which included Eyes on Fire over 2 long years, scraping by with little to no money. I remember shivering in that room, hearing the strings and synths come to life alongside that jagged electric guitar. Kirstine Stubbe, Teglbjærg, took the demo to a cabin in Sweden, where she wrapped it in beautiful words. Later, we brought it all back to the studio, such as it was, to finish the song together. She came back with these amazing, beautiful lyrics. You know, Eyes on Fire feels like a letter someone never sent. It's like standing on a tightrope balancing between love and fury, freedom and despair. It's a song about something that burns so bright it could scorch the earth. It's got this heaviness, this weight, like chains that can't quite be shaken loose. It's about a lover, a ghost, maybe yourself. Lines like, "I'll seek you out, flay you alive," aren't just anger, they're heartbreak, raw and exposed. It's like trying to carve out the truth from the wreckage, but it cuts both ways. There's a fire in the eyes, but it's not all rage. It's longing, it's pain, it's that kind of love that leaves a mark, you know? It's not a straight line kind of story. It's more like one of those old trains that rolls through the dark, creaking and groaning, but it keeps moving forward. Maybe it's about moving forward even if you're leaving pieces of yourself behind in the flames. It's about the person who listens and feels the song. It's about them. Because there is no art without an audience. When the vocals were done, I started working on the drums, the bass, the synth, chiseling away until the sound took shape. Bo Rande came by, adding his touch and bringing something fresh to the mix. The last thing I recorded was my backing vocals. They became the final glue. Eventually, Bo and I took the track to Oslo to mix it, and then I flew to London for mastering. When I heard the final master, I knew it was something special. But like a train pulling out of the station, I knew it was the end of the line for Kirstine and I working together. She'd been dreaming of a solo project in Danish for years, and I knew Blue Foundation wasn't the place for that. We had to move on. Let the magic of that song be the thing that closed the door for her journey with Blue Foundation. I needed a change in Blue Foundation to keep it real for me as an artist. The only one who's stuck around, almost from the start, is Bo Rande. Somehow, his dynamic and mine work well together. He's a free bird, always searching, always exploring, pushing things musically. It complements my personality and my visions perfectly. The rest? More than 20 members have come and gone. I need those changes to keep things burning for me. I don't want to stop growing. That's the nature of Blue Foundation. Always searching, never satisfied. Over the years, I've heard hundreds of cover versions of that song, but none have sold me. None of them carry that same vibe of struggle and pain we poured into it. Maybe only the live version we recorded this year comes close. In my ears, that's the only version that's ever done the song justice, along with our re-recording. Eyes on Fire was something rare, born from the cold and the dark. And sometimes, you've just got to leave rare things where they stand.
Thank you for listening. The music, Blue Foundation. The words, Tobias Wilner. Enjoy this live recording of Eyes on Fire from 2024. The night stretches on. The road keeps turning. Until next time, keep the fire burning.
Ah for your stealing power. See right through you at any hour. I won't soothe your pain. I won't ease your strain. You'll be waiting in vain. I've got nothing for you to gain. Taking it slow, feeding my flame, shuffling the cards of your game. Just in time, in the right place. Suddenly I will play my ace. You'll be waiting in vain. I've got nothing for you to gain. Eyes on fire, your spine is ablaze. Filling up your full with my gaze. Just in time, in the right place. Steadily emerging with grace. Feeling any fool with my gaze. Steadily emerging with grace. Feeling any fool with my gaze. Steadily emerging with grace.
Thank you.